What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. In this video today, I'm going to be going over 4 offensive coordinator interviews that the Baltimore Ravens have had, and I'm going to be analyzing them. There are other names, okay? I will be bringing up other names in other videos. I just wanted to get a jump start on the players that the Ravens interviewed today and most recently. Okay, there's 4 names. I will talk about them all. I will give my thoughts on all of them, and I will give my best suggestions so far. Now, remember, this is a long process. This isn't going to be done today. This isn't going to be done tomorrow, especially when the Ravens get a final list or, the Ravens like to these 3 players. I will do more deep dives, talk more about them, but in the comment section down below, if there's another player the Ravens interviewed or another coach that the Ravens interviewed and you want me to talk about them and I didn't talk about them in this video, I can do that. Comment them down below. I can make a video tomorrow. Because there's, this is the big Ravens news going on right now is the Ravens offensive coordinator search. But let's jump right into it. I'm going to talk about the 2 players coming from the Baltimore Ravens organization first. It was announced that the Ravens have interviewed or are interviewing James Urban, the Baltimore Ravens quarterbacks coach, as well as George Godsey, the Ravens tight ends coach, for the offensive coordinator position. Let's start off with Brent Urban. He is the Baltimore Ravens quarterback coach. He has been since 2018. He's been with Lamar Jackson. All right, he's been in the building. He previously was a wide receivers coach with the Cincinnati Bengals. Before that, quarterbacks coach with the Eagles, and so on and so forth. He has ties to John Harbaugh. He's worked with John Harbaugh plenty of times throughout his career. Coming from that Andy Reid system, it's a name that I think a lot of people may get excited about because, he was in that system. And then he went to the Bengals, as a wide receivers coach. People may be like, oh man, the Bengals, 2011 to 2017, the wide receivers with the Cincinnati Bengals were pretty darn good, right? That's AJ Green, that's Tyler Boyd, that's Mohamed Sanu, those types of players that they always had good wide receivers. I mean, and you got to look at him, and you got to look at a guy like Hugh Jackson who helped with that. Hugh Jackson being the offensive coordinator for the Bengals back then. Terrible head coach, pretty decent offensive coordinator actually, but that's a name where it's like, okay, that's interesting. I'm going to say this from the jump. I don't think we should go internally. I feel like the Ravens should bring somebody from the outside, from another tree, from another staff, to try and bring some different perspective because it would be very difficult for James Urban to come in. I keep wanting to say Brent Urban. Shout out to Ravens defensive lineman Brent Urban. It would be very difficult for Urban to come in and just be like, all right, we're going to change everything. When you're coming from a system, you typically want to keep things the same. Whereas you come from a different one, you're going to step in and you're like, all right, this all needs to change. And everyone's going to recognize that. Rather, James Urban's been in the building. He's been with Lamar. Benefit is he knows what Lamar's thinking. I don't think it'd be a terrible selection. I don't think any of these candidates are terrible. Because again, think of where we're coming from. We're coming from Greg Roman. It's always an upgrade. No matter who it is, it's an upgrade, and that's the good thing. Let's Cliff Kingsbury. So Urban, I don't think is terrible. He has a good background. Going back to the Philadelphia Eagles and Andy Reid coaching days, and then underneath the Bengals, and being with Lamar Jackson as the quarterback coach, being very personal with him. Lamar would definitely like that decision, I think. Next up, George Godsey, Ravens tight end coach. This one's very interesting. New England Patriots background, right? You want to look at Bill Belichick, and he was the offensive assistant for the Patriots. He was a tight ends coach for the Patriots. And then he was a quarterbacks coach with the Texans, offensive coordinator with the Texans. And then he ended up going to being a defensive assistant for the Lions, quarterback coach with the Lions, and then went to Miami to be their tight ends coach, and then co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach, and then became the Ravens tight ends coach this year. Big background. Most of it is spent under the Bill Belichick coaching tree, all right, because he went on the Patriots staff, and then Bill O'Brien left the Texans and hired him. And Bill O'Brien actually just went back to become the offensive coordinator, I believe. I know he's in the staff. I think he took the offensive coordinator position for the Patriots. Bill O'Brien's a good coach. When he comes from that Belichick tree, and he brought him over, and he was able to get that promotion. He was able to work himself up. I'm also going to sit up in my chair because I feel like I'm really low in the video today. But again, coming from the Bill Belichick tree, I like Belichick. I'm not a huge fan of the Belichick offensive system because the Belichick offensive system was always Brady. And, Belichick's the one that, is really the mastermind behind all of that. It's very difficult to translate. Now, George, did become, a decent tight ends coach with the Dolphins, helping with Mike Gesicki and stuff like that. He has a versatile background. I don't want to discount that. And the Ravens have obviously been great at developing tight ends, but I don't know if I want a tight end centric offense, right? I think if I'm looking at the Baltimore Ravens and how I want to advance this, yes, I do want to have the tight ends involved heavily, but I also want it to be more about wide receivers and allowing Mark Andrews to flourish outside of it just being the scheme for Mark Andrews to flourish, because Mark Andrews can flourish in any system. All right. I don't think that's necessary. And we can keep George Godsey as our tight end assistant. That's the other thing is, with these guys, when you're interviewing them, you can keep them in your building. If you don't sign them to be that coach, you may be able to keep them still in that building, still having influence. And George Godsey, again, decent background, comes from Belichick. And obviously anybody coming from Belichick, you hope they're able to work out, but offensively, Belichick hasn't produced the best, kind of proteges and things like that. And he was more Bill O'Brien's guy, because he left Belichick to be with Bill O'Brien. And now Bill O'Brien is back in New England. Let's get out of the Ravens organization. Let's talk about two guys that I'm actually pretty excited about potentially. And the first one, this one's I'm super excited about. I'm excited about both these guys. Let's talk about Justin Outten, or Otten. I believe it's Outten. He interviewed, and he was the Denver Broncos offensive coordinator. And I think a lot of people look at that and they go, oh no, Denver's offense was terrible last year. Now, I want to point out something. Nathaniel Hackett, I believe, was the one calling plays for the Denver Broncos up until he was fired. When he got fired, Outten took over, and he actually started the offensive starting to move the ball a little bit better. And the big thing that he's coming from the Shanahan tree. All right, he was hired as a coaching intern in 2016. That was Shanahan's last year in Atlanta, and then he ended up becoming the offensive assistant in Atlanta. And then he moved over to the Green Bay Packers in 2019 to 2021 as a tight ends coach. Now, if you don't know, Green Bay Packers is coached by Mike LaFleur. He comes from, I'm sorry, not Mike. I think it's Matt LaFleur. Mike just got fired, I think, by the Jets. Matt LaFleur comes from Shanahan. He was Shanahan's guy, and he and McVay are the guys right underneath Shanahan in the Shanahan tree. And the Shanahan system is predicated on the tight end, but it's predicated on the run, then the tight end, and then the outside. And you look at McVay, you look at Shanahan, and you look at LaFleur, that's what they're trying to do. And, you see in 2019 to 2021, the Packers never had insane tight ends, but they had very good tight end production. All right, because Aaron Rodgers was able to throw it to their guy. And they were able to have a pretty good system. And I think coming from there and, him taking over for the Broncos, and people bring up, oh, they had the 200-yard rushing game. The biggest thing was like, hey, the offense was moving the ball. All right, they dealt with a lot of injuries this year. Russell Wilson was not comfortable. Russell Wilson did not play well. I feel like even though last year was kind of pretty bad, I feel like it wasn't his fault. And I feel like when Hackett left, the Denver Broncos offense did get significantly better with him calling the plays. And again, coming from the Shanahan tree, I like that. But finally, my favorite potential guy is Mr. Zach Robinson. Zach Robinson, Los Angeles Rams pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach. That right there should tell you. He's only been with the Rams. He's only been underneath Sean McVay. He was the assistant quarterbacks coach in 2019, assistant wide receivers coach in 2020, assistant quarterbacks coach in 2021, and then he became the pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Sean McVay, one of the best young minds in the NFL. One of the best young minds in sports right there, especially on the offensive side of the ball. He's someone that's always been able to, get people open. He was able to win a Super Bowl last year. And he, looking at Zach Robinson and what he could bring to the table and looking at the Rams offense, because the Rams obviously took a big step back. They got older and they also lost a lot of their offensive line. Okay. They also lost Cooper Kupp. And so it became significantly worse. They started having to go to Baker Mayfield, and it got a lot worse. But at the same time, it's proven that the Sean McVay system is able to generate points. It's able to generate close games, right? And having somebody that's only been underneath him, he was also a former player. He played for the Patriots, the Seahawks, the Lions, and the Bengals. Having somebody that's only been underneath Sean McVay and been getting promoted and becoming a pass game coordinator, which is a very important position. That's huge. And I also love that the Ravens brought in a pass game coordinator because that is what the Ravens want to focus on. But again, the McVay system, the Shanahan system, what that is built on is it's not built on the pass. Even though they're prolific passing offenses, it's built on establishing the run, and it's built on misdirection. It's built on utilizing motion, utilizing the outside, utilizing player strengths, right? Shanahan's able to utilize George Kittle and his blocking prowess, right? McVay, what he does is he utilizes Cooper Kupp and his ability to get open really short over the middle of the field and shorten block as well. LaFleur is able to use Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones and mix their abilities together to be able to have them be able to quick passes out to Aaron Jones, and then also the quick play action, the hard play actions to be able to get those big plays to Christian Watson, or when they had Devontae Adams, or Allen Lazard, or MVS when they had him. The Shanahan system is predicated on the strengths of their players, but it's predicated on the run, and it's predicated on utilizing motion. And that's something that we want from the Ravens, right? When you're motioning, when you have Lamar Jackson in the backfield, oh my goodness, you got to be ready for so many things. It could be the read option, the veer. It could be, a screen pass. It could be Patrick Ricard coming down to lay a pancake block. It could just be a Devin Duvernay end around. Whatever it is, utilizing motion, I think, is something that I would absolutely be okay with, because it would be less like Patrick Ricard motion. It'd be more wide receiver motion and tight end motion, which, again, I'm very on board with. Those are the options that, I feel like are most recent and guys that I really like. Let me know in the comment section down below your guys' thoughts on those coaches. And if you think, there's other players you want me to talk about, I could talk about them as well. And kind of their system and my thoughts on it, because I do love systems and looking at that and how teams play. That's one of my favorite things about football is, the way that it's coached and the way that it's analyzed. And that sort of like, I don't know how to really describe it. Like, I don't know, upper level coaching or, analysis or whatever it is. That's one of the things that I love. And so I love being able to look at player or coaches and say, hey, I think this guy can do really well. And these guys, I think, all have the tools and I have the background to be able to do it. And we'll see where the Ravens go from here. But thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.